She thought I was dying. She thought I couldn't fight back. She forgot who built everything she tried to steal. At 6:03 a.m., the light broke through the east-facing window and landed on the old oak floor. That's how I always know it's time to get up. Not because of alarms or appointments. Just muscle memory. 60 years of it. The first thing I see is the apple tree Eleanor and I planted the week after we moved in. It's taller than the house now. Still standing. Still blooming in spring. Outliving her. Outlasting me, probably. My name is Gideon Townsend. I'm 78. I live in Chapel Hill, North Carolina, in a 2-story home I built with my own damn hands. Every nail, every rafter. I didn't just buy this place. I earned it. I don't get many visitors these days. Just my neighbor Paul Abbott every now and then. He's 65 and still acts like he's doing me a favor by checking in. He's the only one who doesn't look at me like I'm just waiting to die. My daughter? Lindell? I haven't heard from her in 2 weeks. Not even a text. Last time we talked, she accused me of loving my company more than my family. I could have reminded her that my company paid for her college, her first car, her down payment. But what's the point? She doesn't listen. She rewrote the past a long time ago. It's Saturday. That means the farmer's market. 3 blocks away. That walk is about all I've got left that makes me feel like a man. I dress like I always do. Flannel, corduroy, and a cap Eleanor said made me look like a rebellious farm boy. Maybe that's why I still wear it. Before I head out, I glance at my phone. Blank screen. No messages. No missed calls. That emptiness doesn't sting anymore. It just hums like an old wound. The market's already humming when I get there. I buy tomatoes from Hank, same as always. He asks about Lindell. I lie and say she's doing great. Nobody wants to hear you say your daughter only calls when she needs something. Nobody wants to hear that you raised someone who'd rather take than talk. On the way back, a dull pain creeps down my left arm. Not the first time. I ignore it. Doctors only tell you what you can't do, and I've already given up enough. Back home, the silence hits like a fist. This house is too big for one man, but I'll be damned if I leave it. Every room has memories, real ones. Not just pictures and frames, but echoes. The fireplace I built from river stone. The stair rail I carved by hand. The place where Lindell learned to walk. After Eleanor passed 8 years ago, Lindell started hinting. No. Pushing. For me to move to someplace more manageable. What she meant was, sell the house and hand over the money. Her husband Richard, a deadbeat with expensive ideas, never held a real job longer than a fiscal quarter. The man collects business cards like Pokemon, each one from a venture that burned out fast. Lindell inherited my pride, but none of my foresight, and married that fool with both eyes open. I opened the safe in the back of my office. The documents are all there. The trust for the grandkids, the power of attorney clauses, the protection on the house. My lawyer, Terrence Holt, made sure of that. I'm no fool. Not anymore. Just after lunch, a sandwich, a tomato, some aspirin for the arm. The phone rings. Caller ID, Lindell. I answer, already bracing. Hi, Daddy. She says in a soft voice I recognize too well. The voice she uses when she wants something. What's wrong? I ask flatly. Can't I just call my father? She says, feigning hurt. You could, but you don't. Pause. Then the real reason comes through. I want to talk about the house. There it is. She launches into her usual pitch. Too many stairs, too much maintenance. What if I fall? You could sell it for a great price, buy something smaller, and still have money left over, she says. For what? I cut in. Richard's next genius scheme? Her voice sharpens. At least he's present in his children's lives. The air in my chest thickens. I'm not selling the house, Lindell. I say, firm and final. I built it. I'll die in it. She loses it. You're so selfish. You always have been. My vision swims. My arm seizes. My legs won't move. I drop the phone. Daddy? Daddy. The world goes black. When I wake, the first thing I feel is plastic beneath my skin. The second is the chemical sting of antiseptic. Hospital. I can't speak. I can't move my right side. I hear a nurse say it was a stroke. A bad one. Your neighbor found you, she says. Mr. Abbott. He stopped by when you didn't bring back the mower. Paul. Damn good man. She tells me they contacted my daughter. I close my eyes. Of course they did. She'll be here soon. Not out of love. She'll be here to finish what she started. I heard her before I saw her. The click of her heels against the linoleum hallway, quick and purposeful. like she was late for a meeting. She always walked like that. Even when she was a teenager, like the world needed to keep up with her, not the other way around. She swept into the hospital room like she owned it. "Daddy," she gasped, a little too loud, a little too dramatic. "Oh my God, how are you feeling?" I tried to speak. Nothing but a dry, strained groan left my throat. Her face softened into a look of exaggerated concern. If I could have rolled my eyes, I would have. "The doctor says it's temporary," she said, sitting beside the bed and brushing my arm like I was some ancient relic. "You'll recover. Just take it easy." I watched her closely. Her eyes didn't scan my face like someone who'd missed me. They scanned the machines, the monitors, the chart clipped to the bed. Calculating. Scanning for opportunity. "I've been thinking," she said after a moment, pulling brochures from her purse like a magician pulling doves from a hat. "There's a really great place called Pine Hills. It's not a hospital, it's more like a resort. Pool, garden, book club, and close to us. You'd love it." There it was. I wanted to scream. Instead, I managed a dry cough and a grimace. "Daddy, be reasonable. You had a stroke. You can't live alone in that big, two-story house anymore. It's dangerous." She wasn't here because I was sick. She was here because I was weak. "You wouldn't have to worry about upkeep, bills, grocery shopping. Pine Hills takes care of everything. And we can come visit all the time." We, as in her and Richard. That alone was enough to raise every red flag in my body. I narrowed my eyes at her. "Oh, Daddy," she said with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Don't look at me like that. I'm just trying to help." Help. That word again. Lindell had spent her entire life weaponizing the idea of help. Help meant taking control. Help meant deciding for me. Help meant doing whatever she wanted, then blaming me for not appreciating it. The nurse entered to check my vitals, and Lindell stood, smoothing her blazer. "I'll come back tomorrow, okay? Just rest." She leaned over and kissed my forehead. A cold, sterile gesture. Obligation, not affection. Then she was gone. As soon as the nurse left, I pressed the call button. A different nurse came in, younger, alert. "Yes, Mr. Townsend." I motioned for a pen and paper. She handed them over without hesitation. I scrawled with my left hand, barely legible. "Call Terrence Holt. My lawyer. Urgent." She read the name aloud, brow furrowed. "Right now?" I nodded. "All right. I'll call from the nurse's station." I sank back into the pillow, heart pounding. My instincts, the same instincts that had kept my construction firm alive through 3 recessions, screamed that Lindell was already moving fast. She wouldn't wait. She'd been waiting for this moment for years. I wouldn't give her a head start. The next morning, I could move 2 fingers on my right hand. My speech was still jumbled, but words were forming. The door opened, and in walked Terrence. Bless the man. Tall, silver-haired, sharp as a scalpel. My lawyer, my friend, my last line of defense. "You look like hell," he said cheerfully. "But it's good to see you awake." "Stroke," I managed to say slowly. He nodded grimly. "I figured. The nurse said you were urgent. What happened?" I motioned to the notepad again. "Check house cameras. Talk to buyers. She's up to something." Terrence's eyes narrowed. "She? Lindell. Selling. Moving. Control." He understood. He always had. "You think she's making a move while you're down?" I nodded once, sharply. "Where's the footage stored?" "Cloud," I wheezed. "Password in safe. Key in Moby Dick." He actually smiled. "You're predictable, Gideon." I closed my eyes, the energy draining fast. Terrence stood. "I'll handle it. You focus on getting better. But if she's trying anything," his voice hardened, "she picked the wrong damn time." He left, and for the first time since waking up in that sterile room, I let myself breathe. The trap was already set. All I had to do now was wait. The next 48 hours moved in fragments. Some moments passed like molasses, others like lightning. Speech therapy began that afternoon. A young woman named Megan, all optimism and flashcards, sat across from me smiling like I hadn't just had my life stolen out from under me. "Repeat after me," she said. "Ba, bay, boo, bee." I tried. God help me, I tried. But each word stuck in my throat like broken glass. Megan just smiled wider. "That's okay. Every step forward is a win." But I wasn't thinking about vowels. I was thinking about Lindell. By day 3, I could croak out full words. Slow, slurred, but real speech. A victory. My right hand was twitching again, fingers curling weakly around a spoon. I celebrated that by feeding myself soup. Sloppy, humiliating, but mine. That evening, my phone buzzed. It was Lindell. I debated answering. My pulse spiked. My instinct said let it ring. But another voice, the colder voice, the one that had helped me negotiate contracts, push back on crooked developers, and survive 40 years in business. That voice told me to pick up. "Daddy," she chirped. "You're talking again." "Barely," I rasped. "That's wonderful news. I'm so glad you're getting better." She wasn't glad. She was nervous. Her voice was off, too cheerful, too fast, like a child trying to hide a broken vase behind her back. "I've got some amazing news," she went on. "You're going to be so relieved." I waited. "I sold your house and your car." There it was. The air seemed to vanish from the room. "You what?" I said, my voice a sandpaper whisper. She rushed in before I could respond properly. "Look, Daddy, I know this sounds sudden, but it's the best solution. The doctor said you can't live alone after a stroke, and Pine Hills is wonderful, but we had to act fast. The market is hot right now. You wouldn't believe the offer we got. $850,000 for the house. And a collector paid $32,000 for your Cadillac. Can you imagine?" She paused, waiting for praise. I said nothing. "Dad, aren't you happy?" "No," I said, steady as I could manage. "You had no right." "Don't be dramatic," she snapped. "I'm your daughter. Who else was supposed to handle things? Richard and I took care of everything for you. You'll thank us later. You stole from me." She sighed, as if I was the unreasonable one. "Come on, Dad. You had a stroke. You couldn't take care of yourself. What were we supposed to do? Leave everything in limbo while you recovered?" "Yes." I could hear her pacing on the other end. "The money's being put in a special account for your care," she added hastily. "And Pine Hills required a big deposit. We've already paid it. There's no turning back now." "Wrong," I said. "There are cameras, documents, trusts." She hesitated. "Cameras?" she asked, voice suddenly tight. "All over the house," I replied. "Office, foyer, backyard. Everything you did is recorded." That's illegal." "No," I said, cool and slow. "What you did was illegal." She went quiet. I pushed harder. "The property is protected. You sold a house you had no rights to. That's called fraud." "You wouldn't do that to me," she whispered. "You wouldn't call the police on your own daughter." 3 days, I said. "Return every penny. Cancel every deal. Or I will." "Dad," her voice cracked. "Think of Oliver. Think of Isabella. What happens to them if their mom goes to prison?" My throat tightened. I had thought about that. Of course I had. Every night since I woke up. But she didn't get to use them as a shield. Not anymore. "They'll learn," I said, "that consequences don't skip just because someone's family." She screamed something I couldn't make out and hung up. I stared at the phone for a long time. The door opened, and Terrence stepped in. He didn't speak at first. Just looked at me, jaw tight. "She did it, didn't she?" he asked. I nodded. "Sold everything." "I checked the footage," he said, sitting. 3 showings. 1 open house. She brought in a notary. Signed forged documents. "And your Cadillac?" "Some guy from Raleigh took it 2 days ago." "Is it recoverable?" "The house, yes. The buyers haven't finalized yet. They're decent people. We can undo it, but they want their deposit back. $120,000. "And the car?" Terrence exhaled slowly. "Trickier. Already resold to a collector in California. We'll have to sue or negotiate." I leaned back, my head pounding. "She took heirlooms, too," he added. "The mantel clock. Eleanor's silver. A few paintings. Pawned or sold." That was the dagger. That clock had ticked through every major moment of my life. I could still hear its chimes echoing in the back of my skull like a memory that wouldn't die. "I want to press charges," I said quietly. Terrence looked at me for a long time. "Are you sure?" "She'll run," I said, "if she hasn't already." He nodded. "Then I'll contact Detective Harris in the morning." We sat in silence for a while, both of us staring at the phone like it might ring again. But it didn't. She was gone. And now, I was going after her. The morning of the 4th day began with a phone call from Terrence. "She's gone." I sat up slowly, joints still stiff, the weight of those words heavier than my healing body could carry. "Gone where?" "No idea. Didn't show up for her meeting at the station. Neighbors saw her and Richard packing suitcases. Said they told someone they were going to visit a cousin in Wilmington." "She has no cousin in Wilmington." "Exactly." Terrence's voice was dry. Tired. Their phones are off. Bank accounts closed. Richard sold his car online, cash. Police think they're on the run. I closed my eyes. This wasn't a bad dream anymore. This was war. By noon, Detective Harris was sitting across from me in my hospital room, flipping open a leather-bound notebook. She's fled across state lines. It becomes federal, he said. She lied on official real estate documentation. The buyers of your home, James and Emily Bennett, have agreed to cancel the sale, but they want their deposit back. As for your car, the new buyer has already resold it to a collector out west. That's going to take time to untangle. I nodded. I'll make it right with the Bennetts. The car can wait. Harris paused. And Lindell? I didn't answer right away. My throat tightened. I looked at my hands, one strong again, one still shaky, and forced the words out. File everything. Fraud. Misappropriation of property. Theft. Do it. He nodded without hesitation. We'll proceed. By the time he left, the dam had broken. My decision was final. My daughter would face the law, not just my disappointment. There'd be no lectures, no second chances, no tearful reconciliation. This wasn't personal anymore. It was justice. That evening, Paul dropped by. My only real friend left. He came bearing soup and bad jokes. Your tomatoes were still on the counter, he said. Rotten now. Like your daughter. I didn't laugh. I'm sorry, he muttered, softening. But I figured you'd want to know. I also saw movers at your place. They were taking furniture, boxes, your clock. That made my heart stop. What clock? He blinked. The one on the mantel. Eleanor's. The words hit me like a second stroke. Gone. He nodded. I called Terrence immediately. The antique clock. She took it. There was silence. She sold it, he said finally. Pawned it at a boutique antique store in Raleigh. I tracked it through the shop's inventory system. Can we get it back? I already did. Bought it myself. $8,000. I felt something release in my chest, like breath I hadn't known I was holding. Thank you, I said quietly. It's not about the money, Terrence replied. I knew what that clock meant. He paused, then added, that wasn't the only thing she pawned. Of course not. Silver, jewelry, some of Eleanor's framed watercolors. She knew what was valuable, not just financially, but sentimentally. She weaponized memories. Terrence didn't argue. Later that night, Lindell called. The hospital room was dim. Outside, the sky was deep purple, stars just beginning to pierce the night. I almost didn't pick up, but I did. Daddy, she said, voice ragged. The police came. They were asking about the sale. They know everything. Yes, I said. You told them? I warned you. There was a pause. You're really doing this to me? She whispered. No, I said. You did it to yourself. You're sending your daughter to prison. I'm giving you a chance to undo what you did. Her voice rose, desperate. We can't give the money back. Richard already used most of it for the down payment, for his startup expenses. And I thought it was fair. After all you kept from me all those years. You're not entitled to what you didn't earn. You kept everything for yourself. I built it with my own hands. You abandoned me as a father. I raised you, paid for your college, your wedding, your house. Her voice cracked. We're your family. Then act like it. I could hear her crying, breath hitching like a wounded animal. Please the kids, they don't deserve this. I agree, I said. That's why the trust is in place. They'll get what's theirs, when they're old enough. She went quiet. 3 days, I reminded her. You've got 2 left. I can't fix this. Then face the consequences. She hung up, and that was the last time I heard her voice. I was discharged from the hospital on a Friday. The air was warm, the kind of humid North Carolina spring that made your bones ache and your skin sweat in the same breath. Paul came to pick me up. His old Ford idled in the parking lot like an old dog waiting faithfully for its master. Still breathing? He asked as he helped me into the passenger seat. Barely, I muttered, wincing at the way my hip locked up. I brought your chair. Doc says no stairs for at least a week. I built my damn stairs. And now you'll roll past them in style. We didn't talk much during the ride. I was staring out the window at the places I'd known for 40 years. Corner stores, churches, parks where Eleanor and I had strolled, where Lindell used to run through the sprinklers in her church dress. They looked the same, but everything inside me had changed. My house greeted me with silence. The front door still creaked the same way. The air inside was heavier than I remembered, like it held its breath the day the ambulance carried me away and never exhaled. But it was mine. Still mine. Thanks to the paperwork, the cameras, and Terrence. We wheeled through the entryway, past the living room where Eleanor's clock now stood again, slightly off-center on the mantel, but no worse for wear. The Bennetts had agreed to cancel the purchase, but insisted on returning the $120,000 deposit in full after I offered to pay them back personally. "I want to earn your trust," James Bennett had said. "I hope I'm never in your shoes, but if I am, I want to handle it like you did." I didn't know how to respond to that. I'd lost my daughter, nearly lost my house, my car, my life. Handling it didn't feel like success. It felt like survival. That afternoon, Terrence arrived with papers and a grim look. "We've found out more," he said, laying folders on the kitchen table. They used aliases to rent a house in Georgia, short-term. One neighbor said they were gone within days, possibly heading toward the border. No exit records yet, but that doesn't mean anything. There's a lot of holes in the system. "Grandkids," he sighed. "Still with them. No signs of danger or abuse, thank God. But they're technically fugitives now." That word. It rang through the house like a bell in an empty church. Fugitive. My daughter. My only child. I made changes to the will. Terrence continued gently. "As you asked, Lindell is out. The lake house, once purchased, will go into a trust for your grandchildren. They can't touch it until age 25. Independent trustee, airtight. It's all here." I picked up the pen with my good hand and signed without hesitation. "Gideon," Terrence said quietly. "You sure about this?" I met his eyes. "She sold my house while I was still breathing. That clock," I gestured toward the mantel, "meant everything to Eleanor. Lindell pawned it for cash like it was junk." Terrence didn't argue. That evening, Paul brought over dinner, chicken and green beans from a local diner. We ate quietly, watching the local news. Lindell hadn't been reported yet. No missing person, no manhunt. Just silence, like she'd never existed. After Paul left, I wandered into my study. The safe behind the bookshelf still held my new will, financial documents, and a photo album Eleanor had compiled during our final summer together. I hadn't opened it since her funeral. Now I did. There she was, smiling with windblown hair on the deck behind the house, holding baby Lindell in her arms, laughing beside me in the garden we planted during our leanest year, sitting under the apple trees with a basket of overripe fruit between her feet. She had lived a full life, a kind life. She had forgiven Lindell over and over, even as our daughter drifted further into entitlement and bitterness. Would she forgive her now? Would she forgive me? I didn't sleep that night. Instead, I sat in the living room, wrapped in an old quilt, listening to the house creak like a ship in the fog. Every board, every beam, built by my hands. 42 years of work, and it all nearly slipped away in one cowardly act. At 2:17 a.m., my phone buzzed. A text. No return address. No name. Just a photo. It was a postcard of a white sand beach and turquoise sea. Scrawled across the back in uneven handwriting. "We're safe. The kids miss you." Oh, that was it. No apology. No remorse. Just a bland reassurance that she was alive and had taken my grandchildren into hiding with her. I stared at that photo for what felt like an hour. Then I put it in the fireplace and watched it burn. The morning after the postcard arrived, I sat on the porch in the old rocking chair Eleanor used to claim as hers. The wood was faded, the cushion sagging, but it held me. That was more than I could say for most things in my life. I watched the neighborhood wake up. Dogs barked. A jogger passed. A mother ushered her child into the back seat of a Toyota. Life moved on, indifferent to my heartbreak. I thought about Lindell's message. "We're safe. The kids miss you. Elle." She had written it as if she were off on some extended vacation. As if she hadn't robbed me, betrayed me, then vanished like a thief in the night. There was no remorse in those 5 words. No regret. Just that familiar detachment she'd worn like perfume since she was 16. They miss me, do they? I hope they remember my voice. After breakfast, oatmeal, as usual, I called Terrence. "I want to finalize the sale," I said. "To the Bennetts?" "No, I've changed my mind." He paused. "You sure?" "You said, I want to sell to someone who needs a home, not just anyone who can pay for one." There was a long silence on the other end. Then, understood. The next week was a blur of appointments. Physical therapy in the mornings, speech therapy on Wednesdays. I was regaining strength steadily, but fatigue was a constant companion. My right leg dragged a little when I walked, a reminder that even my body had started keeping score. I spent my afternoons packing. Not everything, just the essentials. The few boxes I would take with me when I left this house for good. I labeled each one with a black marker. Photos, tools, books, documents. I left a few things unboxed, unsure whether I could bear the thought of parting with them. Eleanor's apron, the small ceramic bird Lindell had made in kindergarten. My wedding ring, now too loose on my thinning finger. One day, while rummaging through the office cabinet, I found an old camcorder. The mini tapes were dusty but labeled Lindell's 10th birthday. Summer '91. Christmas morning. My heart twisted. I didn't dare play them. Not yet. I called Paul and asked if he could take me to look at a house I'd seen online. A small lake cottage just outside of Pittsburgh. White siding, green shutters, a wide porch. Modest but clean. Surrounded by trees and close to the water. Solitary, but not isolated. I don't want to be anyone's burden, I told him as we drove. You're not, Paul said. I didn't respond. I didn't need reassurance. I needed distance. From the house. From the betrayal. From the daughter who'd made a mockery of everything I'd built. The cottage was perfect. It wasn't the house Eleanor and I had built together, but it had potential. The kind of place where you could live quietly, read in peace, and maybe die without bothering anyone. I made an offer on the spot. Terrence handled the paperwork. The seller was a retired teacher who was moving to Oregon to be closer to her grandchildren. When I heard that, I almost laughed. A stranger's family pulling her closer, while mine had driven me away. That night, I stood in my living room and looked around. The same place Lindell had opened her Christmas presents, one sock always sliding off her little foot. The hallway where she used to leave her muddy shoes, even after I told her 100 times not to. The kitchen where Eleanor used to hum while she stirred stew. Ghosts. All of them. And the one living person left who shared that history was gone, her name now filed in a fraud report. Terrence stopped by the next day. He brought a manila folder and a bottle of good bourbon. This is the final copy of the trust agreement, he said, placing the folder on the kitchen table. Your lake house will be placed in the trust. Your funds are protected. Your grandchildren will have access when they turn 25. I nodded. And Lindell. She's out. Completely. The will, the accounts, everything. I poured him a glass of bourbon and one for myself. To what's left, I said. He didn't toast. Just looked at me. You don't have to do this alone, Gideon. I smiled without warmth. But I already am. Later that week, I made one final visit to the grave. Eleanor's. The cemetery was quiet. Wind rustled the trees. The granite headstone was smooth and clean. Paul had been keeping it tidy for me. I knelt as best I could and placed a single white rose at its base. I kept the promise, I said aloud. I looked after her. Gave her everything. Too much, maybe. The wind didn't answer. She's gone now. And I'm moving. I looked down at the name carved in stone. Eleanor Townsend. Beloved wife and mother. I think she hates me, I whispered. Or maybe she just never loved me the way I thought she did. I don't know anymore. My voice broke. My body shook. And for the first time in years, I wept. Not for Eleanor, not even for Lindell, but for the man I used to be, the man who built a home and believed that was enough. By the time I returned home, the sun was setting, casting golden light across the hardwood floors. I stood in the middle of the living room, one last time, and whispered, goodbye. Then I turned off the lights, locked the door, and left everything behind. The move was quiet. No farewell party. No goodbyes to the neighbors, except Paul. He came by early that morning, helped the movers with the boxes, and filled a thermos with coffee for the road. You sure you don't want a parade? He joked, patting the side of the truck. I didn't laugh. I just want peace. The new house sat by a wide lake, still as glass, tucked beneath tall pines that whispered in the breeze. The road leading to it was gravel, the kind that snapped under your tires like twigs. No traffic noise, no kids screaming down the block. Just silence. Exactly what I needed. The first few days passed like a dream. The kind you barely remember, but know you needed. I unpacked slowly. Set up the office. Stocked the pantry. Set my tools on the new workbench in the shed. I even hung Eleanor's old wind chime on the back porch. Its soft clinks were the only sounds in the night besides frogs and the occasional owl. I slept better than I had in years. Then, 5 days after the move, a letter arrived. No return address. No stamp. Just a plain white envelope with my name, written in Lindell's unmistakable cursive. That old sharp-angled script she picked up in 8th grade when she decided printing was for children. I opened it with the care you reserve for a bomb. Inside, a single page. No, dear Dad. No salutation at all. Just 2 paragraphs. I never wanted it to go this far. I was scared. We were drowning, and Richard convinced me this was the only way out. He told me you wouldn't feel it, that you were going to die anyway. I didn't believe him, not really, but I needed something to hold on to. I'm sorry, but it doesn't change what's done. We're not coming back. I don't expect forgiveness. I just wanted you to know it wasn't hate. It was weakness. Maybe that's worse. That was it. No address. No phone number. Just that signature. L. I sat with the letter in my lap for hours. Weakness. That was her explanation. Her defense. Not hatred, not malice, just cowardice wrapped in desperation. And somehow, that stung more than if she'd written a full confession soaked in venom. I would have understood rage. But weakness? That made everything feel so small. So hollow. That night, I didn't sleep. I sat in the armchair by the front window, staring out at the lake. I imagined Oliver and Isabella somewhere out there, learning a new language, starting over, not understanding why they couldn't call Grandpa anymore. Did they ask about me? Did Lindell lie, or just say nothing at all? At 3:12 a.m., I called Terrence. You're awake, he said, picking up on the second ring. I got a letter, I said. From her. I nodded, even though he couldn't see me. She says they're not coming back. He didn't say anything for a moment. Then, are you okay? No, I said. But I will be. I hung up. Then I made a decision. The next morning, I called the local middle school and asked about volunteer programs. Not for teaching. I didn't want to lecture kids, but maybe mentoring. Fixing things. Building sets for the drama department. Helping the janitor. Anything. I didn't want to rot in silence. By the following week, I was spending 3 afternoons a week sanding down old benches and repainting lockers. The janitor, Marcus, was a retired army mechanic with bad knees and a good heart. We didn't talk much, but we worked well together. The kids mostly ignored me, except one. A lanky boy named Drew who stayed late after classes to avoid going home. I didn't ask why. He didn't offer. But he watched me fix a door hinge one day and asked, "Can you teach me that?" So I did. One by one, I started remembering how to rebuild things. Not just furniture, but routines. Confidence. A reason to set an alarm again. I still thought about Lindell. Every night, when I looked at the framed photo of Eleanor on the bedside table, I wondered what she would have said. Would she have told me to forgive? To hunt Lindell down and make her face me? Or to let it go and protect what remained? Maybe all 3. A month later, Paul came to visit. He brought fresh apples and a paper bag filled with tomatoes from my old garden, now the Bennetts. They were doing well, he said. The girls loved the school. James had fixed the broken fence in the backyard. Emily was planting hydrangeas. They keep your wind chime on the porch, Paul said. Said it reminds them of you. That night, I stepped outside and looked up at the stars, wondering if somewhere Oliver and Isabella were seeing the same sky. If they'd remember my face 10 years from now. If I'd still be around. I wasn't a man obsessed with legacy. But I wanted to be remembered, not for the money or the house or the trust fund, but for the way I stood my ground. For not giving in. And if someday those kids came back, if they knocked on my door with questions in their eyes, I'd be here, ready to answer every one. Late October brought a cold wind off the lake and the kind of silence that settles deep in the bones. The days got shorter. My steps got steadier. I started using the cane less and the stairs more. The town's pace slowed with the season. Stores hung Halloween decorations, and children began counting down to Christmas. I kept busy, volunteering 3 days a week, restoring an old canoe out back, and learning to cook something besides turkey sandwiches. Some nights I even joined Paul and his wife for dinner. He said I looked less haunted. But every evening, before bed, I'd walk out to the edge of the dock and stare at the lake, waiting for something. One day I got it. It was a Thursday, just past noon. I had just returned from the school, covered in paint from helping recoat the gym walls, when a knock came at the door. Firm, but not aggressive. I opened it and saw a boy, no more than 12. Thin, nervous, hair too long for his face. His jacket sleeves were too short, like he'd grown faster than his clothes. Behind him stood a woman. Not Lindell, but she had her eyes. "Mr. Townsend?" the boy asked. Yes. The woman stepped forward. This is Oliver, she said softly. I'm his aunt, Richard's sister. I blinked, unsure if I was awake. He asked to see you, she said, placing a hand gently on the boy's shoulder. He wouldn't stop asking. Said he remembered the tomatoes. Your old garage. The wind chime. I didn't know what else to do. My heart pounded. Come in. We sat in the living room. Oliver didn't say much at first. Just looked around, taking in every detail. The bookshelf. The lake through the window. The small photo of Eleanor and me near the fireplace. I remember her, he said, pointing. Grandma. I swallowed. She would have liked to hear that. She smelled like cinnamon, he added, then went quiet again. His aunt, Angela, filled in the gaps. After the police opened a case for fraud, Lindell and Richard fled to Belize. Not long after, they split up. Richard vanished. Lindell eventually made contact with Angela through an encrypted app. She begged for help. She didn't ask for herself, Angela said. Only for the kids. They weren't doing well. She didn't want them growing up like that. So she sent Oliver home to me. And Isabella? With her, for now, Angela said. But it's not stable. She knows it. I think she's afraid of what will happen if she tries to come back. But Oliver, she trusted me with him. I looked at the boy. He was staring out the window now, quiet, as if bracing for something. Can I stay? He asked. The words stopped my heart. Not forever. Not yet. But they came from a place of hope. Or maybe need. Just for a while, he said. I don't want to go back. Angela leaned forward. He's not happy with me. It's not that I don't try, but I work nights. He's alone a lot. But here, he remembered things. Good things. He says you made him feel safe. I thought about Eleanor's wind chime. The swing on the back porch. Teaching him how to plant cherry tomatoes in a half-rotted wooden box. Yes, I said. You can stay. Oliver looked up, and for the first time, he smiled. Not big, but real. Angela promised to bring some of his things the next day. School enrollment papers. Medication. His favorite hoodie. Before she left, she handed me an envelope. It's from her, she said. I haven't opened it. She paused at the door. I don't know if she deserves forgiveness. I won't ask you for that. But she's scared, Gideon. And she's not well. When she drove away, the lake had turned a strange, brilliant blue, broken only by the ripples of wind. I sat in my office with the envelope for a long time before opening it. It wasn't long. Dad, I lost everything. Even myself. You were right about Richard. About everything. I ruined your trust. Stole what I couldn't rebuild. I don't expect redemption. But if you ever see my kids again, tell them I did love them. And I'm sorry. L. There were no tears left. Only the slow ache of a wound that had scarred too deep to bleed. I locked the letter in my safe. That night, Oliver and I made dinner together. Pasta with store-bought sauce, badly oversalted. We laughed when it boiled over. He did the dishes, carefully, even though he broke a glass. I told him Eleanor used to hum when she washed plates. He started humming too. The wind chime rang softly outside. Before bed, he asked if I'd read to him. From a real book, he said. Not a screen. I pulled an old favorite off the shelf, Treasure Island, and read until he drifted off on the couch. For a moment, the house felt like it had decades ago. Not just full of sound, but full of life. I knew Angela would come soon. Take him back. And that the silence would return. But something had changed. A door had opened. And maybe, just maybe, the future wasn't lost after all.